Yo, what's going on, boys? It is your boy NQ Amen or Amen Trades here, and I'm going to be talking about a very important topic. This is the topic of revenge trading and why you keep revenge trading and how to prevent it. Now, over my years of trading, roughly 3 years, I started with stocks and options, and I started trading when I was 15, 16. And one of the biggest things going to making the same mistake repetitively over and over again was revenge trading, over leveraging, and quite literally just wanting to prove myself to be right. And that is kind of how this video is going to go. When I first started trading, right, I was on crazy winning streaks, getting consistent wins, right? But my biggest issue was learning how to accept a loss and learning how to accept when I was wrong, right? Whether if it was mirroring a bias, whether if it was being stuck to a certain trade idea, I was very prominent and very consistent with sticking to the identity of me being right rather than me trusting and trading my system. And a lot of you guys that I see in my community, my Discord, whatever the case might be, even outside traders, they always revenge trade, not to protect their capital, not to come back to being profit, whatever. They revenge trade because they want to be right. They want to prove themselves to be right, and they forget how to accept a loss. And that is the biggest thing that a lot of traders do when they fail repetitively over and over again. And they get in a constant loop of failing and failing over and over again. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys that I wasn't like that before. When I first started, I was going through the process of trading, learning different strategies, whatever the case might be. But I was also identifying how to stop those bad habits, right? I was going through those trials and tribulations, and a lot of people will literally rinse thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars just doing that same mistake over and over again because they can't accept that. They can't identify the problem and they cannot fix that problem. And to be fair, it is a hard psychological thing, but it is bypassable. Guys can get past it very easily. And the way to see consistent success with prop firms is to be able to fix those problems and not fall to those parameters, right? Because you see a $50,000 account on futures, you're gonna think about it like, oh, I have $50,000 to play with. No, you have $2,000 to play with before you blow that account, right? That is the max loss limit or whatever the daily loss limit of that account is. You guys need to start approaching those accounts with the fact is that whatever money that you do make on those accounts, you're going to have a loss limit, and that loss limit is how much you're able to play with. Now, whatever the case might be, you have $50,000, you play with it, you win some profits, you're up 1,000, you maybe up $2,000. The day or 2 days before payout, you would notice that plenty of people have been through this. They would blow their account smooth off, right? And they'd be like, wow, what the fuck did I just do? After they got up from their chair. Now, what they did is something that is called trance, right? It's a trance. When you're in a position and you're in your seat, you're on your setup, you're trading, and you get in a trance that you don't even realize what you did until after you got up, right? That is all your emotions overflowing, and that was you rushing the process, rushing the outcome of trading. When you came to that day, right, what did you tell yourself? I need 2 more days until that payout. I have 2 more days to request X amount of money from the market or from this firm. And when you say that to yourself and you come to the market and you take a loss, you would rather, instead of protecting yourself and protecting your capital, walking away, coming back to the charts tomorrow, trading with your setups, trading what presents itself, and then capitalizing on it and taking the process to get that payout. Instead, what you do is you come to the market, you take your setup, you take a loss, and then let's say you take the loss. Now you double your size, you over leverage, and you take a low quality setup to make that money back because you want to be right and you want to you want to gain that winning day instead of obviously walking away for that day, or maybe taking another high quality setup to at least bring yourself back to break even. But with the way that you approach that, you think, I need to get this winning day today or else I can't get a payout. That is absolutely wrong. You can get the payout. You just need to walk away, take the loss to the chin because the losses are going to come. If you guys notice that a lot of traders who have data backtested in the market, someone like myself who has months of data, years of data backtested, and knows their system's probabilities and the chances, how much they win, how much they lose, and what their risk to reward is, when I come and I take a loss, I know how to accept that loss because I know that a loss is prominent. Statistically, it is prominent. I'm not going to always winning. You cannot have a 100% win rate, right? It is possible. It is imminent, of course. Nothing's impossible, but statistically, it is not going to happen. Every week is not going to be 100% win every week. So let's say that day comes along and you lose that day. You need to identify how to accept it, right? Because you would rather protect your identity of being a profitable trader, right? You would rather protect your identity of being a profitable trader while, you know, forcing trades, over leveraging, going back these down habits, going down these habits of that are spiraling your loop of just literally just failing repeatedly over and over again. And then you will notice at the end of that session, your account will either be smoothly gone, right? That account would be disintegrated, all because you were trying to protect your identity of I am not going to lose, I'm going to win. And you came with an expectation that day. And that expectation was let down, right? And to be fair, we are all guilty of this. This has at least happened to one successful trader, one time to a successful trader in the game, right? And this has happened to me, right? Where I'd come to the markets, I'd force the payout, right? And I'd blow my account smooth off, right? And there was a time when I first started trading futures, roughly, where I'd got my account balance up to max payout. And I had blown that account 2 days before payout because of the fact that I was in the process of more of in a sense like I guess protecting an identity, right? And I could have gone that winning day. I could have closed my account, but I wanted to protect my identity, right? And my identity of being a profitable trader, my identity of being a winner, right? And when I did that, when I approached the markets and I took those trades, that is what entailed me to blow those accounts, right? Because I was up the winning day that I needed that day, and I ended up putting my stop loss to break even, and I ended up getting tapped out break even. And you know how that goes. When you don't trade systematically and you trade with an identity, you would rather protect your identity than protect your capital. And that's what I did. I blew my accounts that day, over trading, over leveraging, putting everything on hand, right? And during that time, I was actually in a financial situation where I needed that money. So that was also another factor identifying that, I needed that money, right? And my identity wasn't approaching that when I came to the market that day. My identity was I'm going to withdraw this money from the markets, but I would rather protect my identity and let this trade hit full TP with not rather not just securing a winning day because whatever money I did make after that wouldn't have mattered to me, right? It's not gonna change anything. It's not gonna make my payout a little bigger because I already had max payout. It was more of an egotistical thing, right? And a lot of you guys do realize that, you're gonna go through those trials and tribulations, but identifying the issue right now at this moment, rather than getting on a downward spiral loop and getting yourself into a big, big, big rut just because you're trying to protect an identity. Remember, the less exposure you have in the markets, the better, right? Because the more success you're going to see when you just approach your system, you approach trading systematically rather than emotionally, rather than expecting money from the markets or expecting something back from the markets. Because respectfully, the market does not owe you anything. You are a trader, you are a player or a pawn in the game, right? Play your cards right, play your pieces right, whatever the case might be, and you will receive the expectations from the market. You will receive an outcome from the market. But don't stay stuck to the outcome. Stay stuck to your rules. Stay stuck to your system. And I truly do love y'all boys. And if you guys are going through any psychological issues, feel free to DM me on Instagram, Aim Trades. I'm very happy to help you guys, and I love helping out my traders. And if you guys want to join my community, it's going to be linked down below. I trade every single day at 9:30 a.m. EST, and I also do psychological calls like this as well. So I love y'all boys, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next lecture. Be safe.